Hi.
Yes, hi.
I'm high? Well, a lot of celebrities sure are.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about.
Perfect segue.
It was beautiful.
No, it's funny. Not funny.
It is pretty hilarious, you're right. Yeah, don't do that.
There are so many celebrities that kill themselves or, die of an overdose or go batshit crazy like Jim Carrey.
Really? I mean, it's just like Hollywood is so... It's almost more amazing when actors and actresses make it through Hollywood without having any kind of issues, like drug issues, mental health issues, whatever the case is. Like it's just such a toxic environment. I mean, it's no wonder. Like when you actually dig into the kind of stuff that's going on in Hollywood, it doesn't even surprise you. Because I mean, I'm sure everybody by now has heard of like all these actors who are like child stars coming out now with these allegations that they were abused by, these big name producers or other big name actors or whatever the case. Like they're using, you got all these guys who are using their power really to, I don't need to something weird here. Using their power to force to force these kids to do sexual acts. Like it's awful. Okay, hold on, I have to beep.
And I'm damn sure that Demi Lovato was actually a part of that. I'm pretty sure that a lot of the Mickey Mouse Club was kind of a part of that whole abuse ring. And somebody had given her drugs as well, and that's what kind of started her addiction. I'm sure everybody knows in the last year she almost died from an overdose.
But yeah, like obviously everybody's heard about like the Harvey Weinstein. Oh, right, this thing. The Harvey Weinstein thing, where like I mean, it's not just him. Obviously, there's tons of producers and stuff now. Like Corey Feldman, who was like a big child star, has now come out and he's done I don't know if it's out yet, but he's a documentary on like this whole child sex prostitution ring, whatever abuse ring in Hollywood with these really high profile actors and producers, and that they're just using their power to get what they want. Because I mean, you want to make it in Hollywood, oh well, this huge producer could literally ruin you kind of if they wanted to, because they've got ties everywhere. And so they're using that power to get what they want out of these kids and forcing these kids, like if they want to get famous, oh, you're going to have to do this for me. And it's disgusting that they're doing this. But the fact that they're getting away with it for so long, just because of, how high profile they are and how much money they have, that they can just get away with this stuff. Like, it's disgusting.
And so many people knew about it. There was actually somebody, can't remember who it was, but at an award show, somebody who was accepting an award had said something to the regard of, you guys are disgusting, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I can't remember who exactly it was, but then like 2 years later, this stuff all came out. And, the worst part about it for me is these are kids who did not have a chance at life to be normal, and now, they're struggling with addictions and struggling with suicidal thoughts and depression and everything that comes along with that. And every few years you'll see a child star that has taken their own life or has succumbed to their addiction, and it's really sad.
Well, it's such a toxic environment. Like, I mean, obviously, like the abuse part of it is awful, and I mean that can mess you up as it is. But then it's just like the whole environment, like the fame that comes with it, the money, the being recognized everywhere. I mean, at that point, like, now we're not just talking about child stars anymore. We're talking about like any actor who gets famous. They now have all this fame. They have all this new money that they don't know what to do with. They have like, they go to some Hollywood parties. Well, at these Hollywood parties, like there's drugs everywhere.
Yeah.
And so you have all these people. It's like, hey, you want to try this drug? Hey, you want to try this drug? And they're so on top of the world that like, yeah, no, yeah, okay, I'll try it or whatever. And it's just like a super toxic environment at that point for that reason. Like, sorry, what?
It's crazy to me, like, going back to the whole abuse ring and everything, there was people that came forward and said that they were abused as adults that you would never expect. Terry Crews, who is a very beautiful big man, like, I would never want to piss him off because I'm pretty sure he could put me in a headlock and pop my head off.
Yeah, I remember hearing about his his story because he was really big on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's been in a ton of movies. Usually not as like one of the main actors or whatever, but in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he was one of the main guys. And then ever since that, he's kind of come out. He's kind of come out about. I can't remember who it was that was the one who he came out and spoke out that they had abused him sexually.
I can't remember, but all I remember is him saying that he couldn't say anything because he was a black male trying to make it in the world of acting, and this guy could have destroyed his career.
Well, and also he's a gigantic man. Like, he is ripped and he's huge, and as somebody like that to come out and say, oh, this other small guy sexually abused me, there's this, like, all the problems that come along with an allegation like that too. It's like, oh, how could that be possible? You could easily overpower. It's like, it's not always about physical power.
No.
It's definitely, there's a lot, it's a mental thing too.
Yeah, and absolutely, like, the abuse, whether it was from a child or for a child actor or for an adult actor who had no support, yeah, it can totally lead to mental illness, which leads to addiction. There has been so many actors and actresses who have died from drugs. Like, for example, like Marilyn Monroe is one of the most famous ones where she died from a drug overdose. And it was...
Where are you going?
I don't know where I am. I hate water levels.
You just
In
went
every
back where you
single
just
game
were.
that I've ever played, water levels are the worst. Developers...
I will agree with you there.
Yeah. They give me depression.
Well,
but trying to think of some of the more recent ones. What was that guy's name? Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
He was another one, and he was a child actor as well.
Yeah.
And he was somebody that struggled from addiction right from his early years. And you have to wonder, like, what are the environments that are doing these to these kids? Because it seems like every year we're losing someone else to this.
Well, there's been so many big names lately. Like, I mean, like, everybody and their dog knows Robin Williams, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously, not all the cases are strictly because of drugs or the fame or whatever. Like, in his case, he had a brain disease that was essentially, oh god, why I lost the word. It was caused, like, dementia. It was giving him dementia. So he was seeing things that weren't there. He was living in, like, a totally different world sometimes. Sometimes he would be completely fine, and the next, there's, like, he's having hallucinations and just, like, it's a scary thing. But now, and then we start talking about, like, other singers and actors or whatever. Like, one big singer, Chris Cornell, committed suicide. He hung himself. And in his case, I believe it was he was on a medication for anxiety, and I think that could cause either kind of like dementia or depression. I can't remember which one it was, but it's believed that was kind of the contributing factor to him committing suicide. And then most people are aware of the band Linkin Park. Well, Chester Bennington, the lead singer who committed suicide a couple years back now, he was like, Chris Cornell was one of his best friends. And so after Chris Cornell committed suicide, Chester Bennington, he had struggled with depression throughout his whole life. And then it finally just became too much for him. So, I mean, like, these are all cases, kind of things that it wasn't really the lifestyle that got them. It was just, kind of, there was other contributing factors, underlying factors like, depression, anxiety, dementia, whatever the case. But then, you look at other actors, like I think Heath Ledger was an overdose.
Yeah.
You look at, what the hell's that? John Belushi?
Not Jim. Jim's his brother.
Yeah.
That's still
Isn't
alive.
it John Belushi?
Yeah, I think so.
Like big guy, used to be on like Saturday Night Live, like the old school, part of the old school cast. He was in, I think, Animal House.
Yeah.
So he was a huge actor. And I think he was an OD. Then you have like other big stars that may not have died, but they ended up struggling with drug addiction or alcohol abuse or whatever the case is, just because of the lifestyle. Like all of a sudden you have all this fame, you're so popular, so a lot of that goes to your head. Like how, for the most part, how could it not go to your head? It would be hard not to think that you're kind of a big deal when really you are a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, now you have the drugs, the environment, like the parties are all really bad. Are really bad for that because they all have drugs on them. Oh, crap. So it's tough to stay out of that damn it, lifestyle when it's just everything around you is pushing you towards that.
Yeah, I want to go back to Chester here for a second. Well, not specifically Chester, but the whole depression and the environment around it. People with depression who have crippling depression, being in that celebrity environment where everybody wants a piece of you as well, and you're constantly having to entertain when you might be suicidal at that time, or dealing with the stresses of being a celebrity and never having your own really identity, and people kind of look at you as a tool for the masses, right, for entertainment. I think that plays a huge part in it, because I know we all know people who have depression. Now imagine that person being in the limelight 24/7.
Go left.
Left?
Yep. Hit him and then go up. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a really hard lifestyle, and that's, like, it's the reason that so many famous people deal with drug addictions and alcohol addictions. It's such a toxic environment that it's really hard to stay away from that. Especially, like, Robin Williams had a bad drug addiction, too, in his younger days, when he was so famous, but, like, you look at a guy like that, everybody knows him as being this just highly energetic, crazy guy, and when everybody expects that from you all the time,
yeah,
to be able to keep that up, sometimes it's just like you feel like you can't. Yeah, that was weird. You feel like you can't do. What is going on?
Apparently, I can do that. I learned new tech.
Yep, new tech. You just can't keep that up all the time, and so a lot of times these kind of people, they start dabbling with, these drugs that give you the heightened happiness, like you're talking about, like cocaine or heroin. They give you that high and make you crazy so that you can always be on. Because I think, like, Robin Williams, when he was doing Mork and Mindy, which was like one of his was essentially what made him famous. I believe at that time he was like on cocaine like all the time, because he always had to be this really energetic, over the top, crazy guy.
Nanu.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like,
yeah,
it's tough.
The one celebrity death that will kind of forever stick out to me is Brittany Murphy, because to this day, nobody really knows what the hell happened to her. And then her husband died of similar weird causes 2 weeks later or something like that. Yeah, they just found her dead in her home. She didn't have any toxins in her blood. She just was dead at the age of like 36 or something.
Yeah, she was young.
And then her husband died the exact same way a couple of weeks later.
Yeah.
It's super weird. Like a lot of people say that there was some sort of foul play there, which that's kind of another part of that, is when you are in the public's eye all the time. The other one that really affects me is Christina, the girl from The Voice who was shot by that fan.
That was shot from... Christina Grimmie.
Right. So when you're always in the, in the view of the public, you can get stalkers, you can create enemies, whether that's enemies with maybe the press or, maybe you're the Dixie Chicks and you called out Bush.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You're not ready to make nice. Am I right, guys?
So it's one of those things that, again, you're in the public view and it's just one more scenario that could really screw you over. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would be hard. I mean, everybody's always, how many people go to Hollywood every day, trying to make it big, because they only think of the fame part, the fame and the money.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, once you get that causes a lot of these problems. But you can also get these problems by trying to get that fame and money as well, because, the one we were talking about before, about these producers and whatever that are using their fame and their power to make you do things because, oh, well, if you do this for me, I'll make sure that you get this role in a movie or whatever the case is. So you get these desperate people that'll do anything.
Yeah.
Just because, they don't want it, you could ruin them.
I don't want, even doing YouTube here, I don't want to be super famous. I want to be pseudo-famous. Like, when you're walking down the street and somebody's like, God, maybe? Like, I feel like I might know that guy from somewhere. Like, being the author of some book or whatever, where people are just like, maybe, but not like, oh my God, there's that guy.
Yeah.
Let's go up to him and while he's eating and eat off his plate because it'd be really funny. And then you end up like, what's that old guy's name that hates everyone now? He was in Ghostbusters.
Bill Murray?
Yeah. He's a surly old turd now.
He just does whatever he wants. People love him though, but he just does whatever he wants.
Yeah. He's pretty much paid to be a butthole these days.
That's the life I want to live. Well, anyways, on that note, we'll leave it off there.
If you guys have anything to add, please let us know in the comments. And other than that, we'll see you next time.
See you.
Bye.